What is up, everyone? Welcome to the episode of the Just Jacks Golf Podcast. I'm your host, Mitchell Forbes. I'm joined weekly by the COO of Forelinx, Kestin, to discuss the week's events on tour, the preceding event, and of course our picks for this week's fantasy contest, which will be taking place at the Honda Classic. Let's kick things off by discussing what was another unreal event on the Florida Spring that's given us a lot to be thankful for, a lot to enjoy over the last few weeks. Sawgrass didn't disappoint yet again.
No, it was a really fun tournament to watch. A lot of really good storylines and a pretty good leaderboard. And I think that golf course is just a thrill to watch. You know, I think the holes themselves are a blast, and then you spend the entire round knowing that 16, 17, and 18 are coming, which are a lot of fun. You know, I don't think there's a closing stretch on the PGA Tour that has as much variance in the scoring as those three holes do. You know, and they played a major role in this tournament as they usually do, and I think in the end we had a deserving winner in Justin Thomas.
Yeah, I'm particularly pleased for Justin Thomas. Obviously, we've discussed a lot over the last few weeks the fact that he's gone through the shit a little bit, but showed sort of signs of promise with a strong weekend last week. And you know, he didn't exactly get off to the fastest of starts at the Players either, right? I think he only made the cut by 2, but made an excellent charge on Saturday. And what I was really impressed with his win was the patience he showed on Sunday. He was hitting the ball beautifully, but made nothing on the front 9. Absolutely nothing. It was looking like Westwood's tournament to lose at the turn. But then Justin goes birdie, eagle, birdie, and that run seems to be what the difference is between the best and the rest, right? And that's why I hold Tony Finau in such high regard, is because he's able to put those runs together. Mcelroy can put those runs together. I think it takes a certain level of player to be able to like uphold that level of iron play over a prolonged stretch. So hats off to Justin Thomas. He played excellently. Rory was looking a little bit on 18. I don't think he meant to draw the ball quite that much or float with the water as much, but turned into a beautiful drive. What was fun, however, was not fun, but potentially interesting. If Westwood just hold that 6-footer on 17, he would have forced the playoff. Well, who knows if he would have made the putt if he knew he needed to make it, right, to force a playoff. But Westwood just seemed to give himself 6-footers all day, those ugly 6-footers for par, those nerve-wracking putts, and he made a whole bunch of them. Obviously, he was out of position a lot in the fairway. He was recovering and scrambling a lot all day, but you sort of felt him run out of steam on 16, right, when he tries to hit that 2-3 iron into the green, clips the tree, duffs the bunker into another bunker, got up and down nicely. But obviously 17 was playing extremely difficult on that Sunday. The greens were pretty much brown, extremely firm. The pin was really a no-go unless you need to go for it. But that's something I wanted to bring up with you, Sam. That was in my notes to bring up with you. Did Westwood do the right thing playing for the middle of the green?
Well, I would say for starters, I'm not sure that's what he did on purpose. You know, I think.
Did he went for the pin?
Yeah, I mean and he also hits a cut. So like a lot of times, it wouldn't be crazy to imagine that he's aiming at the ridge line, like how that green has a ridge 20 left to the flag. I think a lot of those guys are like trying to aim at that ridge line, maybe hit a little cut, hope it catches the slope and goes down. You know, and so I don't think necessarily that he intended to play it quite so conservatively. I think he probably had hoped that ball's going to cut a little bit, catch that slope, and give me a good chance at it. But I mean, we talk about this all the time, that there are just putts you have to make on Sunday. And even if you've made the majority of them all day, and if you've been good on those putts throughout the course of the week, at the end of the day, that 6-footer at 17 was a gotta have it. Absolutely, positively gotta have it. If you want to win the golf tournament, it just has to go in. And he didn't make it. You know, and I think in the end, it was that, you know, he loses by 1. That's the easiest place to look for that 1. But I agree with you generally that Westwood, I thought, all in, did a pretty valiant job keeping himself in the golf tournament throughout the course of the day, despite the fact he clearly did not have his best shot. You know, one of his biggest strengths is driving the golf ball. and especially on the front nine. I mean, he wasn't playing from the fairway most of the day. And so I think that it made it tough for him to have great scoring opportunities to help create some separation between himself and somebody like Justin Thomas. And Bryson DeChambeau, who was going the other direction on that too.
Yeah, and I think as well, a lot of credit's got to be given to Lee Westwood because the last 2 weeks, although he's finished second both weeks, he's a competitor who will make someone else win the tournament, right? Which is what I admire about that. Doesn't seem to be, I'm not going to say it's a lost art, but that's certainly like your typical European match play growing up sort of style, right? Just make the other person do something spectacular, hit greens and regs, 2-putt all day on a Sunday, and you're gonna put yourself up there. And Justin Thomas had to go on a magical run to beat him. If it wasn't for that, obviously he would have won the golf event. And two second places at Bay Hill and TPC Sawgrass is, I mean, it's very good going. And I think he said in his interview after the round that he was heading to Augusta to play Monday and Tuesday with his son, who was then going to be caddying for him. And surprisingly, he's actually playing the Honda next week, which I thought was a bit strange. He mentioned his post-round interview, his legs were getting a bit weak. He'd been playing a lot of golf. I'm surprised he's playing again, but he's obviously loving his golf. He's obviously playing very well. And it was really, really fun. The narrative I most enjoyed was having the repeat final group as the previous week. That's not something we see much, but they're the kind of things and sort of happenings that create these rivalries or cool matches and duels. It was a shame that Lee Westwood couldn't win, so it was sort of like a 1-1 sort of thing going on. But it was certainly cool to see those two guys in the last group again.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you. I'm surprised Westwood's playing, but I do think that's a little bit related to a phenomenon we've seen in the COVID era, that the European players, because of the difficulty in traveling back and forth, that you've seen a lot more of them who have just decided to stick around and play longer.
Yeah.
And so I think, like if Westwood could go home and not have to quarantine. I mean, I'm not sure what the quarantine rules are in England, and I'm not sure what they are back here coming from England. But I would imagine that there's some quarantine process involved, and so I think it makes sense for some of the European players, like in for a penny, in for a pound, when they get here, they might as well just keep playing because they can't, you can't really bounce back and forth and say, okay, well, I got a week off, I'm going to go back, and then I'll take that week. So I think that's part of why you're seeing a little bit more. I mean, if you look at the field for this upcoming week, fair amount of European players in there. Stenson, McDowell, Lowry, Poulter, Harrington, Keimer, Luke Donald's playing.
Is Keimer in the field?
Is who?
Is Keimer in the field, is he?
Yes, he is.
Oh, wow. Nice. I was wondering where he'd been. Keimer's an interesting one. He came into some form on the European tour post-lockdown last year. And had some nice finishes. It'll be interesting to see what he brings to the table this season. He's an interesting character, Martin Keimer. I thought he would have been a player who would have prolonged his career in the top 25 for a lot longer than he did. I think he tried to change. He tried to change his swing after his was it after his US Open win?
Yeah.
Or when he was world number one, or maybe after he won the Players, didn't he, in 2014, 2015, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy with a pretty underrated,
He's pedigree, man. Medina, US Open at Pinehurst, Players,
and a PGA Championship he won at
Kiwa. No, he didn't win the Kiwa Island.
Was it? Because I think Rory won that one. No, was it Whistling Straits? Maybe.
Where did he win? It's weird. I watched a lot of golf 2012 onwards, right? And it's weird how many years have racked up since then, to the point at which I'm like, fuck, which event did Keimer win? Like, if you asked me that in 2016, I would be able to, like that.
He won Whistling Straits in 2010. He won the playoff. Remember the Dustin Johnson?
There was that. Okay.
The bunker. He won that playoff with Bubba Watson. I think that sounds right.
Other noticeable performances this week, Sam, just before I guess we move on. Rory McIlroy, God, that opening 9 was a car crash.
Yeah, there's
7 over par.
There's something going on with Rory. Like, you've said it a number of times, and I agree with this, that he's not a guy who misses a lot of cuts. And he's missed a few this season. I mean, he missed, he had a horrible opening round at Riviera, horrible opening round here. It seems like golf courses that have placed a premium on driving the golf ball have punished him a little bit. And I think you saw that this week. And I thought, and we talked about this a little bit, I think, last week, but he's admitted, and I give him credit for doing this, that watching what DeChambeau did at Wingfoot made him want to chase a little bit more speed, and it's had some dicey results that have made him, maybe longer, but also more inconsistent.
Yeah, and it's strange because Rory's always been a long hitter of the ball. I'm not sure what an extra 10 yards does to Rory's game. It's not like Bryson, where he wasn't known as a long hitter before he put all of his weight, right? And it's quite clear he's added 40 yards to his distance or whatever. The gains with Rory McIlroy with distance, you'd think would be marginal.
Yeah, and I also think too that Rory doesn't have I think you have to have Bryson's body to swing that way, and so if there was any fantasy that Rory had where he could gain 40 yards of carry or whatever that is, he wasn't going to do that without bulking up a ton, and so I think to try to get an extra 10, I don't really know what. I agree with you. I don't really see how much upside there was.
Yeah, I mean, I'm confused as to what to think, because it's not like he hasn't shown glimpses of brilliance recently, right? He's had a lot of top 10, top 15 performances. It's just that opening 9, he had the left misses badly. There's something fundamentally flawed with his swing, it seems. I know he said he struggled. Was it Michael Kenyon is his swing coach? He said he struggled.
That's all right.
Can't remember. Anyway, he said he struggled not having him with him throughout COVID, and I don't know if he's just let some bad habits take over during that time. He mentioned that he had to go and see Butch for a consultation when he was in Vegas. Little things like this leads me to believe that his swing's probably a little bit out of sync, and the performances that he is putting together is just out of pure talent because it's Rory McIlroy. And these players as well, which doesn't get discussed, is they've got extremely good hands, to the point where if their swing is off, they can correct with their hands to hit the middle of the club face. I think Rory's feels that good. Maybe he's just been relying on his hands, and you can't rely on your hands 4 days in a competition event in high pressure scenarios, which is maybe why we've not seen him perform under pressure, right? When we've seen him go on runs is when the pressure's been off. He's been putting runs together on a Sunday when he's 10 back, or on a second round where he shot himself out on the first. We haven't seen him going into contention on a Sunday. His good rounds have come at low pressure moments, which leads me to believe that maybe his swing is faulty. He's just relying on his hands at the moment. We have seen an improvement in his putting. Perhaps that's acting as a bit of a facade. But I think he's having some swing difficulties. I wouldn't be surprised if he. Well, he's not playing next week, is he? This week, sorry. No. He's going back to the lab, and I quite like that though, because it's almost like he needs a reset, and it's almost like if two missed cuts in 4 events is probably what he needed to focus on his game. I appreciate the fact he's a new dad, and he's been talking about the fact that golf is second in his life, but it's like, yes, that may be the case, but you still need to put a lot of fucking work into your golf game. I hope he's maybe reprioritizing. Not to say that he's going to put golf above his kid, but maybe like he's talking down his game all the time. It's like, golf can't be a big thing, and I don't know. I kind of think when Tiger had kids, he didn't think like that. Yeah, he probably knew the importance of being a dad, and that was more important than golf. Yeah, sure, but he didn't let that filter into his Tiger Woods golfer mentality. Where I kind of feel like Rory's struggling separating the two. When you're a golfer and you're playing these events, like that is your fucking job. Like that is your number one priority at that moment in time. And I think maybe he's becoming a bit maybe lax. There's something like a bit casual about Rory at the minute, man.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I also think too that to me that feels like a cop out. Like,
yeah, I agree.
Never mind the PGA Tour, but I don't know a lot of workplaces generally that, like, if your performance was lagging and they came to you and they're like, "Hey, Sam, you have not been performing at work the way that we're used to seeing. What's going on?" If you're just like, "Oh well, I've been focused on children.
I'm a dad now."
Like,
yeah.
Great, but when you show the fuck up here, you got to be focused here.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think,
good point.
I think that on some level, like that might be a little bit of him giving himself a pass on playing the way he's playing. And I don't buy. I mean, Jack had and granted, like Barbara Nicholas was an amazing woman, but Jack had 1 billion kids. How many Nicholases are there running around? I don't think we've seen in the past that having kids has been prohibitive of playing your best golf. And a lot of people have argued that it's been helpful to their golf because it's forced them to compartmentalize their time better and use their time better because they do need that time at home with the kids. So to me, a little bit of that with Rory is just kind of like, it's like the kid that you would play in video games, as a kid, and he'd lose, and then he'd go, well, I wasn't trying.
Yeah. That was me.
I kind of get that vibe, like, when I hear that. It's like, oh, okay, so, like, we're supposed to grade you on a curve because you're a dad now?
Yeah.
So I didn't like that at all. I mean, and I just think, like, whether this is fair or unfair, to whom much is given, much is expected. Like, Rory is so talented, and we know how capable of a golfer he is. So do we hold him to a different standard than we hold Brian Harmon? Yeah, for good reason. We hold him to the standard that we know he can play to.
Yeah.
And I think, on some level, I don't know what the right way to phrase this point is, but, like, I think today's, and this is, I don't think it's just a golfer thing, but I think social media has oriented people, or has caused people to pay more attention to their perceptions, like other people's perceptions of them, maybe more than I think is healthy for a lot of people. And so I could see how, like, to me, like, some of the excuse making and the deflecting of blame of it's not my fault kind of seems like an effort to control the public narrative about you. And what I love about Justin Thomas is that when Justin Thomas doesn't play well, he is one of the most accountable people that you'll ever listen to. He steps up and says, I played poorly, unacceptable, made a bad bogey here, gotta make that putt there. He's authentic, and will be his own worst critic a lot of the time. And I think that's a really good quality, because I think it leads you to being honest with yourself about the state of affairs, of your game, of your mind, your performance, and will cause you to evaluate correctly what you're doing, rather than, like, a guy like Bryson, when he talks about how, when he has a poor Masters like he had last year, and he blames how he wasn't feeling well and he was dizzy and whatever else, none of that sounds like, what did I do wrong? How do I not do it wrong next time? And so I think it would serve Rory well. And I don't think he doesn't do that. I just think he sometimes does and sometimes doesn't. And so I think if Rory could be a little bit more honest with himself and say, here are deficiencies that exist in my game right now. They need to be addressed. I have the time to address them. Let's fix it. I think that would be the right approach for him. Rather than kind of talking more about how he needs more time off and
in reality, Sam, like, what's actually happening here? Because Rory McIlroy lives in the Bears Club, right? Like, he lives on a golf course. So what's he saying? Like, he's midway through a practice session, he's got to go and change a nappy? I don't think so.
Yeah,
he's like he can walk out. I'm not sure what he's got in his back garden, but I bet you he's minimum, I reckon he's maximum 5 minutes away from an area where he can practice on a buggy or by foot. So it's like, yeah, you're a dad, and that's cool and that's amazing, but like, how prohibitive is that actually in being able to go and get the reps in? Like, what's wrong with why can't you wake up like, maybe wake up with the kid. I'm not a dad, but maybe do his nappy, do his feed or whatever, give him to the mother, and then 6 till 10 there's 4 hours. There's 4 hours of practice time. And I don't know, I just don't get it. It's not like he's traveling like 3 hours each way to a golf course like VJ Singh back in the day. He's like, he's there on the practice facility, he can do the work. Yeah, I get priorities are different, I get it, puts things into perspective, having another life that you have to look after, but I don't see where his time's being robbed of him when he lives on a golf course and he's a professional golfer. I don't know, I think maybe he's just like you say, maybe he's just trying, like, maybe the narrative that he's trying to create for the public is crept into his psyche a little bit, and maybe it's what he's now thinking of himself, as opposed to before he was more the boss, he was dictating how he was feeling. You look at 2019 season, the guy, he was on fire. Every single week he was top 5. You look at his performance at the Canadian Open, shoots a 63 or 64 in the final round, he wins 4 or 5 times that year. Just seems post-COVID and post-Charlie, he hasn't quite got his mindset right, and he's struggling with his swing as well. I don't think, look, every player has bumps and hurdles, and it's just another one for Rory to get through. But I'm a massive Rory fan, as you are as well. But I hope he gets it sorted soon, because I want to see him put on that green jacket in April.
Yeah, I could be wrong about this, and I don't know, but I don't get the impression from Rory, like, and look, this is all relative, right? Like, Tiger's the gold standard here. But I don't get the impression that Rory's work ethic is crazy. Like Bryson, you can say a lot of things about the guy, and there's a lot I don't like about him. But this guy works his fucking bag off. Like, he was bitching about how, like, he was annoyed that sunset was so early because he wished he could have more time on the range. You saw him at that U.S. Open. He's got the lead going into Sunday, and he's banging drivers in the fucking dark.
Yeah, man, he's not even saying that for sure. It's not like he's trying to play into Bryson DeChambeau, the hard-working, transformative brand play. He's actually out there doing it. Like, you go back to Paris at the Ryder Cup. He was the last person on the range in that event before he put in all of his weight right. He's been an exceptionally hard-working professional. Justin Thomas post-round interview talks about how hard he's been working to, like, make those marginal gains get a little bit better. They are all golf. They are all in. How can they improve? And at the top levels, that is the difference. And I'm not going to doubt Rory's work ethic, because I don't know him. I don't see him on a day-to-day basis. But for someone as talented as Rory to not have won for such a long time, maybe he hasn't been putting the time in.
You just don't get the impression from him, like, in the way he talks. He doesn't sound maniacal about the work, the way that a lot of the really great ones. Look, to be fair, like, Nicklaus wasn't even really like that. That, like, Nicklaus worked, don't get me wrong, but especially, like, later in his career, like, he was a big work-life balance guy. He wouldn't play a ton, and so it could be kind of an unfair, like, standard we're holding it to. But I also think, like, work ethic gives you a psychological advantage, in my view.
Yeah.
That it gives you the knowledge that, like Hogan would talk about it, and he'd be like, look, Hogan would say, I wasn't the most talented guy out there, and I knew it. I wasn't the best, and I knew it. So for every hour everyone else worked, I felt I had to work 2 hours. And he's like, the only thing that I knew I could do for sure is I could outwork these fellas. And so when I would get out there, it would give me strength to know that I deserve to win, because I worked fucking harder than the guy who I'm playing against.
Yeah, 100%. I think it also gives you permission to fail a little bit more as well, because it almost gives you freedom, because you can't do anything else but work as hard as you can. So if the game doesn't take care of itself in that week, then it's going to at some point. And I think with Rory, maybe he's a victim of his own talent at some points, because he is that good. I'll say it again, I do believe he's the most talented golfer in the world presently. So maybe he's a victim of his own talent, where there's something subconsciously, because of how talented he's been since a youngster, where he doesn't need to work as hard. I'm not saying he's not a hard worker for everyone listening, because that's a ludicrous comment. He's at the top of a sport that's incredibly competitive with so many big names, but at least I'm talking about the margins. I'm talking about the extra hour a day that he's not putting in. I'm not saying he's not practicing, but the Rory McIlroy belongs inside the world's top 3. He's currently 11th, 12th. I don't know. He's outside the world top 10, which is not where he belongs. So, yeah, hopefully he can refocus. Hopefully he can get those swing faults fixed. But I predicted big things for McIlroy last week. I was seeing glimpses, but maybe the other parts of his game that were acting as a bit of a facade for his where his head's at. I don't know. It's hard to be overly critical. But yeah, I think a week off is going to be good for him. He's played a lot of golf. I think it's easier for bad habits to form a little, solidify a little easier when you've been playing a lot of golf, because the bad habits are getting repeated more and more often. So maybe a week off on the range, working on technical things, isn't going to be the end of the world. And we've got some really fun events before the Masters, right? Especially one of my favourite events of the year is the Dell Technologies, and hopefully that can turn things around. An event where you got permission to be aggressive because it's you against the man, not the golf course.
Yeah, and I also think too that that'll free up Rory's putter a little bit too. Like, putting in match play is totally different.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
It makes, that 15, 18, 20 footer for a half or whatever. It's going to be flying in the back of the hole. It's going to be, and so I think I can see that having some good, and Rory has been a guy who has struggled with the occasional big number, sometimes the more than occasional big number. I mean, you look at Bay Hill, makes a double at 6, pumping 2 in the water. Like, in match play, that's all right, 1 down. Keep it going. And so I see that being a good fit for him for sure, and maybe a good place to get his game back on track. We should talk for a little bit more about Justin Thomas, because that was a really incredible performance. I mean, he kind of fanned that wedge on 18, which blew his hitting every green. But from a ball striking perspective, that was a fucking clinic out there.
It was fucking. I was saying this to some guys on a WhatsApp group on Sunday. I'm like, they watch like big events, right? They don't watch every week, but they'll tune in for when the big names are around. And I was like, what you don't understand is just how fucking good that iron play performance was, that ball striking performance on that Sunday, man. Like, he is like one of the best I've seen. Like, over my course of watching golf, that's some of the best form iron play. And I watched 2012, 2013 Tiger. 2018, 19 Tiger had some good ball striking. Dustin Johnson during his form over the last 10 years, but fuck me, I think Justin Thomas might just pip everyone with how good his iron play is. I think Rory McIlroy made a comment. Someone asked him in an interview if you could take any other professional's game, what would it be and why? And he said Justin Thomas's iron play, because when he's on it's to 6 feet every fucking time with whatever club in the bag.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that shot on 16. Fuck.
Mm-hmm. And just the confidence he showed all day too. Like, as good as that was, it wasn't that much of a surprise, because I think it was the same club. He hit like a laser into 8, which was playing as one of the toughest par 3s on the front. That long par 3, 240 that everyone was hitting the wood into, which, by the way, I loved seeing. That was
fun, wasn't it? Yeah, getting woods into par 3.
Yeah. I love seeing those guys have to play long clubs into par 3 holes. It's like really kind of your only chance to make them do that on a par 4 has got to be 550, in order to make those guys hit clubs like that, maybe more, and so you're never going to see that on anything other than that. And so I think I wasn't surprised to see the shot on 16, having seen the quality of the shot on 8, and I think that he just, it was very Tiger-esque the whole day. He was plodding along on the front side, hitting a lot of greens, not making a ton of putts, maybe a bad 3-putt at 8, but patient and recognized that if I just keep striking the ball the way that I do, I'm going to start scoring. So don't get out of sorts here or lose your patience here. just keep on doing what you're doing and let the birdies come where they come. And they started to, and he had that great run through the middle of the round, and that was all it took.
Yeah, and again, let's talk a little bit before we move on about the strength of the leaderboard that he beat. I mean, you had Jon Rahm in there, Paul Casey, Sergio Garcia was in the mixer for a long time, just couldn't get it going. You obviously have Bryson DeChambeau, Lee Westwood, Brian Harmon was making a run. Taylor Gooch was a bit of a surprise up there, but there was a lot of big name top 25 golfers, gunning for it, and Justin Thomas just simply outplayed a lot of them and showed balls of steel and went on a ridiculous run of birdie, eagle, birdie at the perfect time. I mean, I think the turn is a really interesting point. I know different golf courses set up differently and there's different scoring opportunities, but in terms of momentum, in terms of what the leaderboard looks like, to have a surge at the turn is just, I think that's a big thing. It's a big thing because it puts pressure on your chasing pack, knowing that they need to make birdies closing. And that when they're running out of holes, so fair play, Justin. Like, strategically amazing, emotionally amazing, absolute iron clinic, and what a classy guy as well, man. The way he conducts himself in interview situations, amazing. I think they were probing, like, did Tiger text you? And he's like, what me and Tiger discusses between me and Tiger, sort of thing. I love that. I thought that was really classy. And I think, the way he's sort of gone about his business after his sort of, Ralph Lauren dropping him and, his grandfather passing has just been nothing short of exemplary. He is the moral professional.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And it's no surprise that, he comes from a PGA Pro dad, who I imagine had a lot to do with instilling those kind of great values of the game in Justin Thomas. And I think there's a reason why a guy like Tiger is drawn to people for different reasons, right? I think with DeChambeau, he's it feeds the inner nerd.
The obsessive, yeah, because Tiger's a fucking nerd, by the way. People listening, I fucking love Tiger. I really do love the guy, and I love this part about him. But what he doesn't display as much now because he's got GOAT status. He's a bit of a fucking nerd, is Tiger Woods. Just go back. Well, I guess hello world, huh? I mean, that's an awkward way to address the media.
Yeah, and he's a and I
geek of the game. Yeah.
He's a science geek. He's an equipment fiend. He can do his attention to detail. And the engineer part of his brain. Is so well built out. That I think that his relationship with DeChambeau feeds that side of him.
Good point.
But I think the competitive side of Tiger and the mentality side of it, that seems to be more like what he gets out of his friendship from Justin Thomas. The hyper competitive, the shit talking, I mean, I've never heard anybody else I don't know if you watched that event at Tiger's Court, the Paynes Valley Cup or whatever.
Yes, yeah, I did.
Justin Thomas is calling him dum-dum the whole time. I don't know anyone else. I've never seen anybody else in the PGA Tour talk down to Tiger. I've never seen anybody with the balls to do that, and I think Tiger loves that about him. I think that's what Charlie loves about Justin Thomas, and so I think it's really cool to see Tiger's relationship with those guys influencing their results. I can't imagine what it's like to sleep on the lead on the PGA Tour, but I can only imagine how cool it must be in that moment to have the best player of your lifetime, certainly, reaching out to you to encourage you in those moments. I just think is a really cool thing, and I think it's something that is one of those things about older Tiger that you never would have seen. Yeah,
these are all really cool. These are all really cool elements of Tiger's career, Tiger's story. That he's managed to create. He's managed to create new narratives for himself that we didn't know was there 10, 15 years ago. Really cool. I listened to Butch Harmon on the Foreplay podcast last week.
I listened to that too.
And it is, and what I really liked, there's a whole host of things I loved about that. Butch, by the way, I couldn't believe how switched on he was for late 70s, early 80s. Incredible. But what I really enjoyed was when he talked about Tiger Woods' feel for equipment. And I was like, you made that point earlier about sort of Bryson's geekiness relating to that side, but fuck me, before TrackMan, before spin rates, all that stuff, Tiger knew off feel what balls were doing with the dimples, why, shafts, club faces. Like, he knew everything. He was way ahead of his time in that portion, right? Talk about being like an avid club tester. Like, Tiger fucking grinded getting the best equipment in his hands.
And not only that, but also his like, I don't know what the right way to phrase this is, but like his feel, his senses for equipment are incredible. Like, I remember hearing a story along the lines of that they gave him a driver and he had said the grip was too thick. And they're like, it's the same thickness as the one you had. He goes, no, it's not. It's definitely bigger. And they go back to test it. And the difference in the thickness, it was the difference in the thickness of a dollar bill. Like, not like literally, like, you know, whatever.
Yeah, like paper thin.
Like, that was the difference, but he could feel that, you know, and different balls, he could feel exactly what they were, you know. Like, I think that's a really cool part of his personality, but it's part of like that obsessive attention to detail. I don't see that obsessiveness in Rory McIlroy like at all. I see him as a guy who like seems to be spending a lot of time thinking about how to get away from it, you know, and not a guy who like can't shut it off. You know, like Hogan was a guy who can't shut it off. Tiger was a guy who can't shut it off. I don't see Rory as that guy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I guess time will tell. Like, obviously, I think as well, Roy's at that weird part of his career as well, Sam, where, you know, he's achieved a lot in the game already, and it's like he almost like to need like a second wave of momentum to carry him forward from this point. I think Justin Thomas became one of only 3 players in Miller and Woods to win the Players, a WGC and a major championship before the age of 27, 28. You've got Justin Thomas sort of building a real career behind him. I just feel like Rory was at that point and he's just sort of stalling out a little bit. I think he just needs a second wave. It must be hard to maintain such a high level of work ethic, dedication and intensity and passion every single year for 25 plus years, which is what these successful golfers have to do. So I'm going to cut him a bit of slack, but you're right in making those really valid points that he maybe needs to look to the likes of Justin Thomas and Bryson when they look at like their obsessiveness and how that then relates to their results, because there's no doubt there's a direct correlation between that.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's right. You know, and I think that it's going to be an interesting Masters. We got a lot of storylines that are kind of converging at the same time, and it's going to be a fun, fun trip.
You know, it's going to be a very fun trip to Augusta, despite obviously not having Tiger there. There's enough bubbling for it to be an extremely good one. I guess we'll do a Masters special in a couple of weeks' time when the moment's right. But my heart wants Lee Westwood to take that one. I think that's what's like he talks about. He's just enjoying his game more, but I just think he knows the quality of golf he's playing can translate to a major. I think that motivates him massively. That'll be my pick.
Ways out. Yeah. I like him more at the Open Championship than I do at Augusta. I think. Okay. I think that Augusta does not reward his strength. Like, I think he's a very excellent driver of the golf ball, and Augusta, you know, mostly hitting fades, which is not necessarily a great fit for Augusta either. Like, you saw Lee Westwood, huge difference, right, in the 2 shot shapes from Lee Westwood and Justin Thomas at 16 at Sawgrass. That Justin Thomas played that really cool shot, like almost like
that nosedive hook.
Yeah, but that was a driver that carried like 234.
Run out 60 yards, yeah.
And then rolled the remaining 60 yards. But played was the correct shape into that hole. Versus you saw Lee Westwood step up and hit a big cut out over the trees.
Good looking cut, but yeah.
Yeah, you know, and I think I just don't think Augusta, like, from a ball flight perspective, is a great fit for Westwood. But
distance and experience there do go a long way as well, which is really interesting. It's not like he's not had good performances there previously.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. I think if he can keep this level of form throughout the year, to me, St. George's is a place that I would have a hard time picturing. If he brings this game I would have a hard time picturing him not figuring at the end there.
Was it Darren Clark who won it at St George's last?
Mm-hmm.
That's if there's an example to inspire and motivate, and guaranteed Lee Westwood's playing better golf now than Darren Clark was in 2011. That's a cool that's a cool spot from you.
I also think too that the crowds love the old guy trying to bag one more story.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
You know, and so I think to see Lee Westwood at an Open Championship I think there are going to be some fans there for sure. I think that would be such a cool thing. So.
Yeah, there could even be a full house. The UK is opening up fully, no restrictions, June 21st. Currently, the vaccine is getting rolled out quick, and the European Championships, the football, the soccer event, is sort of this year. It was meant to be last year. It's getting hosted across 10 different cities in Europe, and I think England have taken on way more of the games now. And you look at the capacities before June 21st are like 5,000-10,000. It goes up to full capacity. So hopefully we're going to have a full house at St George's. Now that would be special, right? Lee Westwood, 48-year-old champion golfer of the year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. It's the only Open Championship venue I've ever played. And so it's going to be cool to be able to, for the first time in my life, watch an Open Championship, knowing the golf course a little bit.
That is sick. But before those exciting events we've got to look forward to this year, it's the Honda Classic. It's not I don't have this down as a poor PGA Tour event at all. I actually love the golf course. It's brutal. Vijay Singh nearly won here a couple of years ago, which I love, and we've still got a strong enough field with some big time players in. Sam, how did you get on with fantasy last week, my man?
Poorly, I believe.
I finished second, which I needed because I went big on the parlays and completely fucked that job. Cheers, Rory.
Let's take a look at your parlays. Round 1.
My parlays were awful.
Good. You took Thomas, that was good, but you took Rory over Rahm, and that was a killer.
But that fucking should have added up, really. That should have.
No, that wasn't a bad idea. I just didn't see that coming.
But yeah, I got saved.
Throughout the week?
No, I was saying because I went so high risk on the Thursday, I wasn't going to play any more parlays throughout the week. Otherwise, I'll be texting you on Monday morning, and be like, "Can I have some more points, please?" So yeah, I ended up finishing second, and what was a tough week for the pick and pulls when you consider the players that were in the groups. You know, there's some surprise people missing cuts, and that leads to a low score in pick and pulls week. Webb Simpson, prime example. I think I made a comment last week. Do I see Webb Simpson missing a cut? Absolutely fucking not. What did you go and do?
Yeah, no kidding. So I finished in the middle of the pack in the 500-point one, and I finished dead last in the 1250-point one. What did I do there?
Fuck. Do you have a withdraw? Kevin Na maybe withdrawn?
Oh, that was funny, wasn't it?
I didn't see the event of it.
So Kevin Na made like a ping pong 8 at 17. You know, one of those like where you look at. Fucking
Siwoo Kim did the same. Paul Casey did the same.
And then he missed a putt, and then he drove it in the water at 18. Ends up turning in an 81. And then withdraws with a bad back.
Golfers love a bad back, don't they?
It's the world's easiest. Like you're a million over par. Like you know you're missing the cut.
You've got loads of money. Give up. Yeah, fuck it. It's not worth it. Sam, let's kick us off with Group A this week.
Yeah, so this is a weaker. I mean, obviously the field is not as top heavy as we've seen lately. So this is a very odd Group A. Ricky Fowler, Daniel Berger, Adam Scott, Gary Woodland is withdrawn or has been withdrawn due to COVID.
Okay.
Out. Lee Westwood, Sung J M. Sung J M only sneaks in here because he played well. I think he's the defending champion, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I think Tommy Fleetwood finished second. I think him and Tommy Fleetwood would remember those two in contention last year.
Right. I just remember he almost won 2 weeks in a row. He almost won Honda and then almost won Bay Hill. I mean, like, it's a weird group. Daniel Berger probably merits some consideration. Adam Scott merits some consideration. I'm going to take Lee Westwood, but I wouldn't be surprised if I end up regretting it. I think there's going to be an out-of-gas factor with Lee Westwood there. You could already see it come Saturday and Sunday, or mostly Sunday, at the Players' Championship, and I just think it's going to be a hard week for him to get up for.
Yeah, man. I think it was Rich Beam was like going into Sunday. He was like he hasn't made a bogey for 36 holes. He was always going to make bogeys on the Sunday. That's just how golf works, man. Like, it's not like the odds reset before every round. Like, if you're going on a run like that, then you best believe a bogey's round the corner. And I think he made 2 in the first 4 holes or something.
Yeah, including I think a good bogey at 4 after he
great bogey
pushed water. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Lee Westwood. I think he's by far in the best form of anybody in Group A. So long as he can, as long as he's not checked out.
The logic would point towards Lee Westwood. I can't deny that, and I've actually got him highlighted now as I go to pick it. But I'm going to go low ownership pick, and I'm going to go with my heart on Group A, because I think momentum and motivation's a huge part of golf. Ricky Fowler's fighting for his fucking spot at Augusta,
and it shows.
It shows, but maybe he just brings his best shit this week. I don't see any reason why he would at all. Daniel Berger's definitely a better pick. Adam Scott hasn't really shown much either. So, Berger and Westwood are your 2 picks for everyone listening, I think. But I'm going to put my balls on the line because I want to see I'm going to get my heart involved. I want to see Ricky Fowler do well. I want to see him at Augusta because I've got so pretty accustomed to seeing him there. He's very stylish. I don't know. He's part of the Augusta week narrative for me. It would be a real shame to see him miss it. So I think this is a good opportunity for him. We're in Florida, home state. He knows the course. Let's see if he's been putting the work in.
Group B: Maverick McNeely, Doc Bradman, Sepp Straka, Patrick Rogers, Brandon Wu, Doug Gim. Doug Gim was a cameo participant on Sunday briefly.
Until he did a Rory McIlroy, yeah.
Yeah, for a pretty incredible flame out at, I believe that was 7. He hit like a screaming pull hook into the water, took a drop, and another hook into the water. And then the next time we saw him, I think he was making like a 7 or a 6 on 17. Something like for the quad he made at 7 and the triple he made at 17. I'm not going to pick Doug Gim. Brandon Wu, I just don't know anything about. Doc Bradman hasn't done a ton. I think Maverick McNeely is the guy in this group who has done the most, is probably the most comfortable, has taken the most steps forward out of any of these kind of young guys. So I think I'm going to go with Maverick McNeely.
Yeah, I will say this. Sepp Straka seemed like, did the media hate him or something? Because his name does not get thrown about on the media certainly have their favourites with the coverage, because Sepp Straka doesn't get a single mention. He's like Tom Lewis, right? Tom Lewis, the English golfer. He's right. He's top 50. He's put in some noticeable good performances over the last year or whatever. That's why he's playing so much on the PGA Tour now. Doesn't get a shot, poor guy. But look, I'm going to go with Doug Gim. I didn't realise the quality of his amateur record. World #1 amateur previously. Played on that Walker Cup team with like Morikawa. With name me some more from that era. There's a ton of them. My mind's just gone blank. That 2017 Walker.
It would have been Doc Bradman would have been on that team. Maverick Haley probably would have been on that team.
Morikawa, he was better than the bunch. He's quite clearly extremely talented. I think his best finish before last week was a top 5 at the Amex. So he hasn't quite brought it to the PGA Tour yet. But look, although he had a few high numbers, he still had a good finish at the Players' Championship. I just don't know enough about what everyone else is doing in this group. Maverick McNeely is probably the logical pick, I guess. But Doug Gim had a pretty good week apart from a few big numbers.
He did, and I think I agree with you as far as like standout amateur career. You got to think that he's going to try to make good on that at some point. He was also a pretty good putter for a lot of that time. That's not a bad pick either. I think that's kind of more of a form pick, and I'm going with more of like a average,
Yeah, low of averages pick, yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
But I not necessarily a bad call. Group C, this is the European Ryder Cup group. Stenson, McDowell, Lowry, Poulter, Harrington, Keimer. It's a hard one. Stenson played awful.
Yeah, I think he shot worse than Rory. He was like 12 over something after 2.
Didn't he? I could have sworn he shot at 85.
Hey, he was terrible, man.
Let's take a look. Stenson shot. Yeah, he shot 85 in the first round.
A lot of the big European names had a fucking awful round. Like Ian Poulter, there was a video of Ian Poulter, Rory McIlroy, Tull, Hatton, and Henrik Stenson sat at the table. It's like we shot a combined 29 over par.
I will say I liked seeing that those guys hang out after like that.
I like that as well. I was like, fuck, I want to be at that table.
Yeah, that was cool to me. Dane Lowry played okay.
He had a great, he actually had a little charge. I think he might have finished top 10. Might have finished on 9-10 under.
Yeah, he finished 9 under and tied 8 or solo 8th.
Solid.
Not bad.
No, not at all.
Shit, Charles Howell had a sneaky top 10.
Charles Howell loves a sneaky top 20, top 10.
Sneaky top 10. I think I'm going to go with Shane Lowry for that reason. He had a good week last week, and everybody else here has one reason or another to think they're in the wilderness. So Harrington would be a sneaky good choice, I think, but I just don't have the guts to do it.
By the way, GMAC, he hasn't done it. I know he won like, didn't he win the? I think he's had 2 wins in the last 2 years, 2 or 3 years. He won. But I think he won Puerto Rico. Then he won a like Maybank or something last year. What did he win? He won something last year.
Yeah.
It's weird because it's like he's done fuck all but that, which is why he's still playing these events. But you're not going to see me go to a near GMAC in terms of pick. I feel like his best days are long gone. He might be a guy who wins some of the lesser events, but he's not getting my pick in a half decent field.
Yeah, I think he's the kind of guy that he's in a stage of his career where he's struggling to make cuts, and if he shows up once or twice a year to contend, that would be a surprise, but he could do that. Yeah, and he
was in a video with Eric Anders Lang that he released the other month from when they were in Dubai, and he to be honest, he came across awfully. It's obviously not easy to come across well on camera when you're not used to it all the time, so I'm not going to judge him based off that, but he came across a bit like arrogant, entitled, like, I've been there, done it, pal. Done it, you doing it. I don't know. I just kind of feel like he's done.
Yeah, I don't have a hard time buying that, and I also don't think his game was ever. He was always kind of a guy that seemed like he was getting the absolute most out of his game.
He was a gutsy tradition. Like, he's an old school Irish match play artist. You know, he was a gutsy performer. He was Ian Poulter. You know, he more guts than talent. But hey, it worked. But that doesn't sustain itself. But I'm going Shane Lowry. Like, come off a great week, and everyone else is just no reason to pick. Like, not good enough reason to pick anyone else in that group.
I'm with you there. Group D, international flavor: Camilo Villegas, Charles Schwartzel, Ro Ishikawa. Remember that guy? Joaquin Neiman, Johnny Vegas, Rory Sabatini. This one is a fucking who knows.
Who the fuck knows? But what I will say is Rory Sabatini finds himself in fucking top of leaderboards on Fridays a lot of the time. He always seems to have a. I saw him on the front of the leaderboard on Thursday or Friday. I'm sure. I think he made the cut. I think he finished at the bottom of the cut line. Like I think he made the cut and then finished last.
He shot 69, 75, 74, 74.
So he was up there on Thursday then.
This is what's wild. He missed the cut at Bay Hill, missed the cut at Pebble, missed the cut in Phoenix, but he finished 10th at Torrey, 12th in Palm Springs, had a couple of good finishes in the fall. He's a guy that, like, 1 out of every 4 events are not that bad.
I don't care if he's winning every golf tournament. He will never, ever, ever get my pick. He changed his nationality from fucking American to Slovenian or Slovakian or some shit. He plays with the yellow ball. I just can't get away with the guy. I actively dislike Rory Sabatini.
I mean, he's a dick.
He's a dick. He's a prick. Such a dick.
Did you see the scene with Jordan Spieth where he hit into him by accident?
No.
So Spieth, I forget what hole it was, he didn't see Sabatini was in the trees on the right, and everyone else in Sabatini's group had started walking already. So Jordan hit, and then Sabatini, as the ball's in the air, comes out of the trees. And, like, Rory hits a tree, like, right over Sabatini's head. And he goes, oh, shit. He's like, did I just hit into Sabo? And he's like, that's probably the worst guy I could fucking do that to. Like, knowing that, like, this guy gets pissed off is an asshole.
Yeah, fucking knob.
Yeah. And then he said something along the lines of, like, luckily for me, I'm one of the few guys he actually likes.
Fucking hell.
Which I think's a funny thing to say. I'm going with Sabo.
Oh, fuck you, Sam. Jesus. Who are you?
I just don't see.
Don't lure yourself.
Who else in this group is playing?
Well, that's fair, right? Who else is playing well? But Neiman's the best player in this group, so he's getting my pick.
That's definitely right. I'm gonna regret that.
I can't go into a week knowing that I've picked Sabatini over Neiman, and then that backfiring, right?
I take it back.
Come on, Sam.
Neiman's the right choice.
You just want to be controversial, didn't you? When I said I'll never ever pick him, like, I'm going to pick him now.
No, I kind of overlooked. I overlooked Neiman. I thought this group was so deep that I just felt like, hey, no, there's nobody in this group, so fuck it, let's have some fun.
Right. Vegas and Ishikawa fooled you.
Right, I got distracted by Vegas, Ishikawa, Johnny Vegas, has-been Schwartzel. Group E, this is
it's another one, mate. This week has got the potential for 6 missed cuts. Like,
no doubt about it.
Fuck.
I'm gonna go with Stuart Zane. Here are the 6: Stuart Zane, Ryan Moore, JB Holmes, Pat Perez, Kevin Streelman, Lucas Glover. I'm going with Stuart Zane. He's been a surprise lately. At times, he's played well. Didn't he win like a year or two ago?
Yep. Yeah, he did. I can't remember which event, but he definitely he won in the recent. No, he won like 6 months ago or something. He won quite recently.
Yeah, he's kind of a steady. He just doesn't seem to have as much blow up in him as the rest of this group seems to. Streelman's
out. I think he's missed the last 2 cuts. Streelman, he sort of fell off a little bit.
Take a look here.
He missed the cut of the Players. He finished 13th in Pebble. He finished 22nd in Phoenix. 37th at Farmers. Missed the cut at American Express. Like, he hasn't done anything, man.
Yeah, Stuart Zane missed his last 3 cuts. I like that one. Haven't seen anything from Ryan Moore. What's Lucas Glover been up to?
Talk about Ryan's. Ryan Palmer always seems to play well at Sawgrass, doesn't he?
Yeah. Alright, so Lucas Glover hasn't been playing great. He hasn't been missing cuts. I'm changing from Stuart Zane to Lucas Glover.
To be honest, I'm fucking lost. I don't have a fucking clue who I'm going to pick. Is it the what's the name of the course we're playing this week at Honda?
PGA National.
PGA National, that's it. Is it got the big bear or something? What's the
bear trap?
The bear trap, that's it. Okay.
With those 2 par 3s that are hard.
Oh, they're fucking hard. They're like 220 over water. It's ridiculous. I think they get wind into as well, don't they? On that hole.
Into, and no matter which direction it's into from, it's hard. Like, it's either into coming off the water, so you have to aim it out towards the water, or it's blowing towards the water. And if you lose it a little right, it goes in. So, I don't know what the winning score will be. It seems to fluctuate at this tournament a lot.
Okay, you'll go Lucas Glover. Streelman showed nothing. I can't go with him. JB Holmes, no. Charlie Hoffman was up there this week. Stuart's, oh fuck. Pat. When I'm having to pick between Pat Perez and Lucas Glover, I know it's fucking. I know shit's gonna hit the fan. Let's have a look at Pat Perez. I like Pat Perez. I like the way he comes across. He's a very chill dude. Okay, so he missed the cut of the Players. Arnold Palmer, 36th. Genesis, cut. AT&T, 26th. Phoenix, cut. He's shown fuck all as well. Big fat pat. I'm going to have to go Lucas Glover just for the safety of the cut, because cuts are a premium this week, people. Cuts are a premium. Do not pick who you think is going to win this golf tournament. Pick who you think is going to make the fucking cut. I promise you.
At the end of the day, you cannot defeat another player without having fewer or equal guys miss the cut. That in the end, the guy who has one missed cut will beat the guy who has two missed cuts almost every time.
Yeah.
Jim Furyk, Zach Johnson, Phil Mickelson, Vijay Singh, Steve Stricker, Luke Donald are your Group F contenders. Phil quietly had an okay week. That was a big surprise.
He played nicely. He played okay.
Yeah, I mean, he drove the ball well enough and kind of managed to keep it together around that golf course, which is no small feat for Phil. Vijay Singh's had success here.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that putter. Steve Stricker had it going there for a little while and kind of faded away.
Steve Stricker, yeah, he played well 2 or 3 events in a row. Obviously had that good run in Phoenix. I think, mate, honestly, I think this is of course Jim Furyk could win it. I think didn't like 6, 7, 8 under win it last year.
Yeah, I've seen winning scores there. It was like 4 on.
The problem with picking either Stricker or Zach Johnson actually had it going at the players before he fucked it, but problem with Stricker and Jim Furyk is can they reach the par 3s in one? Like that's the only thing I'm thinking. I'm thinking like Phil figures, it's Phil. I like to see him play well, but if I'm using my head and like looking at form, Furyk and Stricker are definitely going to be able to get around there fine. And it's a low score. It's birdie holes aren't going to win this tournament. So I like Furyk, Mickelson, or Stricker. I feel safer in terms of cut wise with Stricker or Furyk than do Phil at the minute. Despite Phil's best obviously being better than Furyk's and Stricker's best, no doubt. But I'm going to go Jim Furyk. I love the guy. Fucking love the guy. I've said this before. He's shown plenty that tells me he's got another win left in him. A 6 under winning score plays to his strengths for sure.
Yeah, I mean the golf course is a par 70, so for the week the total's 280, and a number in the 270s has won this tournament in the last 10 years. In the last 10 years, 7 out of 10 times the winning score was 270 or higher.
Okay, so it's fucking tough.
Yeah, so I mean, like 10 under is way good in this event. Yeah, Furyk's not a bad call. I'm going with Steve Stricker. I think he's been sneaky good lately. The putter is hot. He's a pretty consistent guy. I just don't see myself regretting. I don't know. I mean, Furyk, you could say the same thing about Furyk too. I like Strix. Let's go with Strix.
Let's go with Strix. And let's head on straight over to the parlays, where, by the way, the matchups become really interesting when it's players who are like form against, like name against. Are they going to make the narratives are definitely funner, and the odds are better when it's a week like this. I think when you've got, for example, Fowler Westwood in matchup 1, and you got Fowler at plus 105 is tempting, isn't it?
It definitely is, and from a form perspective, obviously Lee Westwood's been in way better form. But conversely, if you told me a year ago that I was taking minus 140 on Lee Westwood to beat fucking anybody, let alone Ricky Fowler, I would have told you were insane.
And as well, yeah. Yeah, but he's not going to shoot.
I had to have a flyer there, but I'm still going with Lee Westwood. His form's been better, and I just think you got to do it. The price is high, but I'm doing it. The thing is with this week is it's not like Lee Westwood's going to go out and shoot a 65 opening round. I'd be very, very surprised. I feel like there's going to be 1 or 2 shots in each parlay matchup. So it's like I feel like this is a week to maybe take the good odds, because I think the margins of that small. I don't feel like there's going to be a massive amount of difference between Lee Westwood and Fowler. There might be 1 or 2 shots, but like just for the plus 105 and for the fact I went big last week and fucked up, I'm going Ricky Fowler. For the odds, purely for the odds. Not a bad choice. Unfortunately, the second one is Woodland and Berger, and Woodland's withdrawn. So we'll go to Sepp Straka and
so what happens here then in terms of the matchups? What do people have to do? Is it void?
Essentially, no matter who you pick, that leg of the parlay will be considered no action. And so
reduces the odds.
You basically just have to get the other two right. But you won't get paid
as big,
you would get paid for a three-way. You would get paid the way you would on a two-way.
Okay.
So it's ostensibly the same thing as if they tie, is what it is. So as a replacement for that, at least as far as the discussion goes, actually, let's talk about Maverick Haley versus Doc Bradman. Maverick Haley minus 155, Doc Bradman plus 120. I mean, I think those guys are close enough to a coin flip that it seems like why wouldn't I take the better odds on Doc Bradman, but he hasn't done enough for me lately. I'm going with Doc Bradman, but I think, I don't know, I don't love it, but the price is right, I think. I'm
going Doc Bradman as well. The price is too luring. Which takes us to matchup 2 of this group of Rogers and Sepp Straka. I don't have a fucking clue. I literally don't have a clue. I've got no input here.
Me neither, but I've seen more out of. I feel like I've seen Rogers is more accomplished, but I feel like I've seen more out of Sepp Straka, who has had some good performances at times. I just haven't seen almost anything from Patrick Rogers. This is like the kids group. I'm gonna go with Straka in that one.
And then I'm going Doug Gim every day of the week.
Doug Gim minus 135, Brandon Wu plus 100. Brandon Wu had that pretty solid U.S. Open at Pebble that one year, which was cool, but I haven't seen anything else from him. So I'm with you on Doug Gim. He probably should be a bigger favorite than minus 135, so I think that makes him a good choice. Yeah, man.
Okay, well, everyone listening, get involved. It's fun. We've got some big news coming up in the next couple of weeks with progressions in some big points to be won at Augusta. We're also working at the moment to get something pretty cool in for everyone. That's going to be sort of weekly giveaways. Stay tuned for that. But yeah, look, other than that, Sam, we're being blessed at the minute with a very strong Florida swing. And we've got some more great golf to look forward to. People, if you're getting any value at all, which I'm sure you are, and I'm sure you'll be getting more and more as the weeks go on, please like, share, subscribe, all that fucking corny shit that I don't like saying, but I've got to help this thing grow. Sam, thank you again for your time, my man.
Always a pleasure, buddy.
Take it easy, man. Bye-bye.